do you think that you and Delaney will end up in a close race here?
Maybe. He's fast, I'm fast, so we're always together.
Press is making a thing about us.
Yeah. But it's money.
That's American. Michael? Be careful.
Now, don't be a pain in the ass, Harry.
Le Mans. At 200 miles an hour, the pressure of winning and losing is tough enough. Explaining it to someone else makes it even tougher.
This isn't just a 1,000-to-1 shot. This is a professional blood sport. And it can happen to you. And then it can happen to you again.
What is so important about driving faster than anyone else?
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, just waiting.
Le Mans. The men, the machines, the motion picture. Steve McQueen stars in it. No one else could.
And now for all you music lovers, it's time for your traffic report. There's a What is it, Scooby? Can't you see I'm broadcasting here? Pile up on the tri-level, got you backed up all the way to the off-ramp. So, if you're traveling this morning, try to give yourself an extra day or two, folks. Hang on, folks. I've just been handed this important bulletin. Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our regularly scheduled program to bring you this special report, like live as it happens.
Hi, everybody. It's Derek Bell, the 5-time Le Mans winner, 3-time Daytona 24-hour winner, 2-time World Sports Car Champion. You're listening to Nostalgic Radio and Cars.
Welcome, listeners. Welcome to Nostalgic Radio and Cars. I'm your show host, Robert. What did that sound like? That sounded like somebody in a boxing ring. You know, they go,
"Yo, get ready to rumble.
Get ready to rumble." Yeah, something like that. Okay. Well, anyway, that was a slip. I didn't, because I actually lost my balance here while I was scooting around in my chair. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah.
No, four wheels is pretty tough there.
Yeah. Well, they're on an X. You see, your crisscross. See, that's confusing. I'm used to four corners.
Four
right?
corners. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah.
And there's 3 levers on the side of it.
Yeah, that's true. Adjustments.
It's a split shift thing, or yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you're tuned into Nostalgic Radio and Cars. That's us. And then don't forget to check out our website, gulfstreammotorsports.com, where you can find out all about us. And if you've missed any of our past shows, you can go to nostalgicradioandcars.com, where 600 and some odd shows are there. It's 12 years, over 12 years now. And, 600 shows, it doesn't really sound like a lot, but we've been consistent. And we've had some pretty good people on over the years. And I'm pretty proud of that. I think we've done pretty good show, because we just kind of hang in and we're live radio, so, there's no goofing around here. It's all live and spontaneous. Right, Bobby?
It is. And I just was thinking about your little introductory speech, and I have to edit it a little bit now, because to watch us on YouTube, to see us live in the studio, as you say, you now go to both Nostalgic Radio and Cars on Facebook and YouTube. You listen live on TanTalkNetwork.com.
Okay.
So
that's
I will. I'm just correcting that now, because I want our listeners to go to the right place. But then we will rehearse that later.
Okay, we'll rehearse. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, where am I going with this? Oh, yeah. Well, so we got a great show. Now, what's coming up here in really 2.5 weeks now, is Monterey Collector Car Week. Now, that's probably the event of the year, because it's generally a week long, and you are just nothing. If you're a car guy, it is probably the only place that I can think of on the planet where they have a collection of some amazing events. We've had Tom McDowell from Concorso Italiano, strictly Italian cars. You have the Porsche Works reunion. You have Legends of the Autobahn, which is BMWs, Audis, Mercedes, all other German cars. You've got Laguna Seca, or WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. I always get that. What was it before that? It was Mazda? Was that what it was?
Yes.
For us traditionalists, it's still Laguna Seca. At any rate, that is really, in my opinion, the race track out on the West Coast. Riverside, Laguna Seca, and Sears Point were probably the premier racing tracks. Now, there were some other ones. Willow Springs is still around. Then it was Willow Run. Interesting. Some amazing racetracks on the West Coast, but we've also got probably the most historic racetrack in the world. Two of them right here in our own state of Florida, which is Daytona and Sebring, which I believe is the oldest sanctioned racetrack in the country. So, and I've always just been a huge fan of road race cars. Road race cars, growing up, Porsches, MGs, Jaguars, Aston Martins, Mercedes-Benzes, Porsches, obviously, and all those kind of cars, Fiats even, Ferraris, Maserati, all those cars, but the cars that you saw really surprisingly on Cobras, without a doubt, but all these cars you saw on a day-to-day basis running around town, and a lot of these guys will take them. Of course, I grew up in Northern California, so there are other small little racetracks around the area. But then in the mid-'60s, Sears Point became like the place to go. So in the mid-'60s, when I was old enough to really kind of identify with cars, if you will, I started building models as a kid, so I was always around them. And then going into San Francisco with my parents, there was on Van Ness Avenue was where all the car dealerships were, particularly British Motor Cars, which had all the Jaguars and Healey's and Astons, and then down the road the MG dealer, and then up the road the Porsche dealer, and up the road the Volkswagen dealer, and so on and so on, and of course Ford, Chevy, and Chrysler, and everybody else, and the Ferrari people. I mean, it was just they were kind of like, you didn't have specific groups so much, but you had one guy that handled multiple brands. But when you saw those cars back then, growing up with them, building the models, having little slot car tracks and having those little replicas of the cars, seeing the cars running around town, having those cars in, friends of mine, their parents, with their dad or their cousin or uncle, somebody had a car, they were fixing it up and sitting on a little single axle car trailer and they were dragging it to the racetrack, and don't get me wrong, there was drag cars too, but I'm just saying I was just kind of like more enamored with sports car racing. Sports cars were just cool, and I like hot rods, don't get me wrong, but there was something about sports cars. And so Monterey, the Rolex reunion, which is coming up, is a tribute to all those cars. And of course, this year the event features cars that race at Le Mans since day one, which was in like the early 1900s. And so some amazing cars. But anyway, we have a representative from why don't you go ahead and call Barry, see if we can get him on the phone. And Barry's been on our show a number of times. And like I said, I go out there when I can. And Laguna Seca is just one of my favorite places to hang out. I mean, I get a media credential and I get a photo credential and I get in some really cool places to get some crazy shots. And you'll see those on our website and our Facebook page. I post those from time to time, but it's just a truly really cool experience. And the beauty of vintage racing is that it's time stood still, but these cars are so cherished. And again, if it weren't for those cars, there wouldn't be racing today, obviously, and racing was always a test bed. The manufacturers did it because, it was it gave them an opportunity to advertise and prove their worthiness in terms of parts, cars, durability, popularity, and so on. And, racing is extremely important. It's just one of those things. It's, you talk about sports in general, and I don't want to get into that because I know there's a couple of guys listening that are just, ball sports guys. But like we always say in racing, it takes two balls to race in motorsports. And and big ones at that. And because your butt's on the line, it really is. I mean, most, sports, you get hurt pretty bad. The likelihood to get killed is not so much, but in motorsports racing, definitely. We got Barry on the line? No? Okay. Anyway, but motorsports racing is just fun. And for guys that are real car enthusiasts, when you go to these events, it's just a trip down memory lane. I mean, the cars, the people, the personalities, everybody hanging around there, these are truly, enthusiasts. a lot of women are there. A lot of women were involved in racing. Kids, a lot of kids get into racing. They start out. I mean, you start with Tom Christensen is 9-time Le Mans winner. I think Derek Bell, we had a little promo with him, and I think Derek won it 3 or 4 times. Hurley Haywood, I think 5 times. Tom Christensen, 9 times, 6 times in a row. I mean, that's pretty amazing, and the cars he was driving, BMWs, Porsches, Audi, the Audi diesel, Bentley even. It's great to see a mark like Bentley to get in there. It's great to see, I think, when you see Ferrari, Lamborghini, now Lamborghini wasn't really known as a race car back in the day, but they've gotten into it. But keep in mind now, Bentley, Lamborghini, Audi, those are all Volkswagen, which is basically Porsche. And so they share the technology. They have their own technology, and it's and they work within the scope of the parent company there. But it's about winning, and of course Toyota's no different. Neither is Nissan. Now Peugeot's coming on real strong, back again. They were big players back in the day, and so you got a lot of the old vintage marks getting back into it. It's kind of like everything's kind of like in this retro world right now, which is kind of cool. I dig it, because I mean, I live in the past constantly. And I mean, hell, if you're looking, I still have a 1970 hairdo. But anyway, and I still have the cars I had in high school. In fact, I went to a high school reunion last weekend. But anyway, it's time to introduce our special guest for the evening here. I want to introduce this gentleman. He is the Director of Heritage Events and Public Relations at the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. And I'm delighted to welcome back to the show. He's been on the show many times, Barry Topke. Barry, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. You're catching us at a good time. We're getting ready for kind of a big event out here.
Well, yeah, it's called the Rolex Rolex Historic Reunion, right? Did I say right?
We've gone through so many names. We are now the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion.
Okay, that's it. But I was just kind of highlighting some of the stuff, talking about Monterey, because I grew up in Northern California. So Sears Point and Laguna Seca were kind of like where I kind of used to go back and forth a little bit. And I was talking about race car drivers, and racing and GT racing. I was referring to specifically, I was just talking about Tom Christensen because, he's 9-time, and he's one of the featured guests this year, personalities there at Laguna Seca this year, right? Because it's a whole big Le Mans thing this year, right? So why don't you talk a little bit about that rather than me talk about it?
No, absolutely. Tom Christensen is a fabulous guy. He's been here a couple of times before. We've named him our Grand Marshal. As if you're going to be honoring Le Mans, there's none better than Tom Christensen, as you said, a 9-time overall winner, just an amazing talent. And so he's going to be here on Saturday doing interviews, meeting with fans, driving a couple of cars probably on some parade laps, and just going around and being the ambassador of motorsports. We also have a special guest, Henry, actually I should say it in French, Henri Pescarolo, the 4-time overall winner. He's never been to Monterey.
Wow.
Flying in from Paris, and is going to be reunited with one of his own Pescarolos. That was 4th overall in, I believe, 2007. So, you just never know who's going to be in the paddock that you can rub shoulders with, bump into as they're admiring the cars. And, we're going to have the Peter Brocks, Hurley Haywoods, just the normal cast of characters that make the Rolex reunion so much fun.
Now, what's this about a hill climb? Tell us about that. I was reading, I got a memo, something about a hill climb. You're going to do a hill climb event this year, first time.
Yeah, we moved the days. We used to run the Rolex reunion on Thursday through Sunday.
Right.
This year we accelerated to Wednesday through Saturday. But on Sunday, in honor, we want to make it a community day.
Okay.
And really, allow our participants, if they want to go over to the Pebble Beach Concours and enjoy that day in a relaxed setting instead of having to say, gosh, I've got to race my car in the morning and then rush over to Pebble. So if they want to go to Pebble, that's great, fully supportive. But what are we going to do a little bit differently? So we are going to take a flyer and do a corkscrew hill climb. So we will be starting from near the start-finish line, reverse course, up and finish at the top of the corkscrew.
Oh.
We're expecting 60 cars max. And we've got everything from a 1925 Bugatti Type 35 to a 1976 Formula One. Lucid and Tesla always go head to head.
Yeah.
So, both of those companies are eager to try to do something, and it's just pure fun. We may think back on Sunday afternoon thinking, what a disaster that was. We'll never do it again. But, it's never been done before. And we want to just have a little bit of fun, open it up to the community. It's free admission from 6 in the morning until 7:30 in the morning for the cars and coffee crowd.
Oh, wow.
And enjoy the cars in the paddock, see the Le Mans cars, and just really have a fun time.
Now, what's going on with the whole? So I know there was some tension there at one point in time with from the political side, but that got resolved, and now you're getting a lot more support from Monterey and the surrounding community, because there I think some issues about noise and some other stuff, and some of the people weren't all enthralled about the racing and what's going on, but that's all changed now, hasn't it? I mean, everybody's kind of like on board, correct?
It really has. We still have a few local residents who live across the street who are opposed to any growth, any noise, airport traffic, or anything of that sort. So we're never going to win them over, but we play nice with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they understand us, and we understand where they're coming from. But the County of Monterey owns the facility. And just last week, the Board of Supervisors voted in a 4 out of 5 vote to approve a $14.9 million funding of a new start-finish bridge and repaving.
Oh, wow.
Beginning November of this year, we're going to be shut down for a little bit while they do, some much needed investment, grading and things of that sort. So it's really a shot in the arm for the motorsports community and for the Monterey County that the ownership is saying, we value this place. We know it can be successful. And, we're not going away. There's always been some talk about Laguna Seca closing. There's been that swirl for years and years and years. The ownership is not going to put in $14.9 million plus if they're going to be shutting it down. So, fans can rest assured that WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is here to stay.
That's super. Well, having McNeil on board is kind of a big play. I mean, that's kind of a racing family itself. So it's kind of nice to have somebody that's really, really, pro racing involved. And, it's not just a name, it's not just, Ford, Chevrolet, Mazda, or whoever. It's a racing, motivated kind of group of people there, which I think that has a lot to do with it as well, don't you? Because people sense that.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. The McNeils, David, the owner, and then Cooper, his son,
Mm-hmm.
Cooper races in the Ferrari Challenge and in IMSA. Fantastic family, very supportive. And, they want to see this place thrive, and they want to see motorsports around the world thrive. Cooper was fortunate to have a Le Mans finish. I think he finished second or third at Le Mans this year in his class. So, they have the passion for the sport and a passion for WeatherTech Raceway, and they've been a valuable and very supportive partner of the past few years, and hopefully for the future years.
Super, super, super. All right, so tell us about the Le Mans display, because I know that's special. Okay, so why don't you share some highlights of some of the cars, some of the people, and the details.
Usually the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion has a featured mark. We have a Ford, we have a Shelby, we have BMW, Ferrari, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we took a little bit of a flyer again this year of honoring the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Scott Atherton, the former president of IMSA, put me in touch with the president of the ACO in France. We had our first Zoom call, and they were 100% on board to doing the proposed, being the kickoff to their 100th anniversary, which will take place in 2023. So we have been, instead of having one company prepare the featured mark area, we've hired a curator to pull together, and what we have is 51 overall winners, first-in-class winners, or very special interest cars that will be on display as our featured mark. We have everything from the 1929 Bentley Speed 6 that won in 29 and 30, the original Bentley Boys car.
Wow.
To the Mercedes 300 SL, the W194 that was the overall victor in 52 or 53, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The Jaguar D-Type, the very last Ferrari to capture overall honors in 1965 will be on display. That's courtesy of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. And a very special tribute of the original Ford GT40s that won in 66, 67, and then the double winner, 68 and 69. So we're going to have all 4 of those GT40s together in one place, which is going to be, it's going to be special. We think it's going to be the largest assembly of overall winners and first-in-class winners ever assembled in America.
What's interesting is that I can't think of any other racetrack in the country. We're talking, it could be MIS, could be Elkhart Lake, you would think, Daytona, Sebring. Nobody outside of Laguna Seca, and particularly the Rolex Motorsports Reunion event in itself, attracts the magnitude, and I'm going to use that word magnitude, of collector cars, or just from the historical significance, the vehicles and the people and the whole ambiance of the racing world of the past. And I'm surprised at that, particularly because Sebring's in our backyard right here, and it's historic, and obviously Daytona. But Monterey, you guys just do the best. You guys just absolutely do the best.
Monterey is also a destination capital of, on the West Coast for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And when you combine, Pebble Beach started out in 1950, I believe it was. And then, the races here started in 1974 with General Racing, Steve Earle starting it off.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the only 2 events that was the genesis of Monterey Car Week. Now you've got 35, 40 events, big auction houses, Bonhams, Gooding, and all those that are here. And they're really, when I looked at it, yes, Pebble Beach Concours is probably the best in the world. We are one of the top historic races in the world. But when you compare everything into one place that Monterey County has to offer this week,
mm-hmm.
Goodwood is amazing. I mean, the Goodwood Festival of Speed and the Goodwood Revival are outstanding, but it's one location, and they do a fantastic job. But we're spread out throughout the county with all these different shows and different auctions. There really isn't another week like this for motorsports enthusiasts.
No, and you're right, and it attracts a world audience. Seriously,
it does. We're down a little bit on international visitors because of the pandemic. People
mm-hmm.
are still a little bit shy. Parts availability for some of the cars and rebuilds are slow, so we've had a few withdrawals that normally aren't happening. But that's typical with things, and we're still going to have 400 plus historic race cars on the track. We have the Ragtime Racers, which is another 25 cars of those pre-1920, with a riding mechanic and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Those guys are just fantastic. And they have a pre-1920 garage that they completely build up and invite guests in to sit in their cars and help them change their tires and do engine rebuilds. It's a real entertaining show. But when you add all of this together, I mean, they're really 4 days of motorsports nirvana of you just don't know what you're going to see. And what really keeps this event elevated is our advisory council demands strict authenticity of each car that's accepted. I mean, these are the real deal. They're not continuation cars. They're not replicas. These are the actual cars that raced in the day that many have significant history to it. I called somebody up just today because we're doing a photo shoot for Rolex, a car-to-car shoot. And it sounded kind of odd. I needed to get a GT40 and a Ferrari 250 GTO. Calls later, I've got both, for this photo shoot. That doesn't happen too often.
No. That's
cars.
Yeah.
So there's a special, spirit to what we do, and people come here to share their cars with their fans. There's nothing to win. We don't award first, second, or third place. We award style, their spirit of driving, and camaraderie. It's a real entertaining show that have significant automobiles with fantastic people who want to share them.
How many entrants do you have signed up for this year? I mean, what is the typical participation rate?
We've gone from anywhere from when we first took over the event in 2010, we had 625 cars in the paddock, which was absolutely insane.
Wow.
And we went down to 550, down to 500, and this year we set the bar at 400, which allows a little bit more breathing room in the paddock. Make sure that the cars that are accepted are absolutely without question authentic, and really create a better vibe instead of such a hectic, frenetic pace in the paddock.
Barry, the classes that you have right now, I know is Trans Am still the largest class, or is it this kind of small bore Europeans? What kind of like the largest percentage of cars on the field? Which event?
Well, yeah, we have the SCCA production cars this year, and that is a strong group.
Mm-hmm.
Also have for the first time ever, a saloon class. So we're gonna have little minis out there and Alpha GTAs.
Oh wow!
The historic Trans Am group, they always put on a good show, and they're
right
in the 40 plus car count in the field, which we usually restrict the number of cars to 40 max on the track. The historic Trans Am guys, they all know each other and know how they race, so we exceed that a little bit in the 40. But some of the other groups, like Formula One, we want a smaller grid because these are people coming in internationally and may not know the track as well. We want to make sure that safety, driver safety and car safety is the paramount rule.
No, that's good that you brought that up, because it's interesting that you mentioned it, because like you said, the Trans Am guys pretty much it's their little group, their thing. They all know each other real well and their driving styles and stuff. And like you said, somebody else comes in from out of town, so you want to keep the grid a little bit smaller, particularly with open wheel cars, because that's a little bit more treacherous than fender to fender action. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
And the other thing is, there is a great speed differential and driving differential among these cars.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are not professional race car drivers. They're out there to have fun and enjoy their car at a speed that they are comfortable at. And these cars some are quite a lot faster than others. So we have to watch it, and the driving etiquette is demanded. Proper speed and proper driving. And if you do something stupid, you're going to be black flagged and pulled off. And everybody knows that. Every year there's some cars that have to be pulled off, and sometimes the car has been put back on a trailer and sent away.
Oh,
it's like there's very strict rules about contact and gentleman driving.
Yes, etiquette.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, now HSR is now kind of like running the track for you guys. Is that how that is? They're the kind of like the sanctioning organization there.
They're returning for their second year as our sanctioning body. They do all the tech inspection. They ensure that they work with the advisory council on any questions about authenticity and tire size, working on that. And they do the on-track running. So if there's some, they work with the SCCA corner marshals very, very closely. Does somebody need to be pulled in? Is someone leaking oil? Come in for a driver discussion about things like that. So it's a real seamless effort. They do the roving tech in the paddock, so they go to each pit space, again, making the customer experience a lot better for everybody. And they've done a phenomenal job this past year, and we welcome them back this year. David Hinton and his crew out of
Clearwater, right here by us.
They just do a fantastic job. Really enjoy working with them.
Now, did I read somewhere that Bill Warner's going to be kind of involved with HSR this year? Is he?
He is our chief steward.
Chief steward, okay.
He's also on our advisory council.
Okay.
One of the things that we do for each group is have a steward that typically runs in that group. The eyes and ears, they're the group historian to help say that this car didn't exactly run this way in period, and we need to make some changes to it. If there's a problem with some of the drivers, maybe over aggressive, the group steward is the first on base to kind of figure that out a little bit. Bill has been a member of our committee and a longtime participant racing his Triumph, his Group 44 cars. So he's very familiar with the rules, how we operate. He's he's been a dear friend of mine for many, many years, and very pleased that he's stepped aboard as the chief steward. However, he missed that meeting when he was appointed chief steward. So meetings when you're on the advisory council, you get named for certain things. But he's an invaluable member. He has, he's a walking encyclopedia of motorsports.
So what other events taking place? What do they do for like entertainment and stuff like that? So in other words, let's say I'm there, I'm the car guy. What about my wife and my son? What do they do? What do you got for plan for them?
We have a whole family zone. We have exhibitors. We have this year launching Cafe Le Mans, which we haven't really talked about too much.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Champagne and some French tastes right there in the paddock, right by the stage. Kind of creating a relaxed atmosphere so that guests can go somewhere and enjoy, their time here. This is our 65th anniversary of Laguna Seca, so we have a Laguna Seca History Museum going through the decades with old photos of, Sir Sterling Moss and Phil Hill, Dan Gurney, all the greats who have raced here many, many times. So we're trying to entertain and educate, and that's a key part of what we do. We are a rolling history of museum history here, with the cars on track. But we have to give people more things to do that are, not necessarily automotive enthusiasts, but they want to come out and have an experience. So we're looking at all the different touch points that we can provide to them to want them to come back.
Up on the hill, up by the Corkscrew, there used to be like a little restaurant, and I think that's there every year too as well, right? So that's a great vantage point for people to watch the races.
Well, people love going up there, and we certainly do have our English ales, serving some local English brews.
Uh-huh.
And people go up there and enjoy the shade and watch the cars, coming through, because we are on track. The track is hot every moment of the day, so there's always something happening. And it's when people say, "Gosh, there's nobody there because there's nobody sitting in the grandstand," that's kind of misnomer. We're not like a big stadium where you have to sit in a seat to see everything. People here roam.
Yes.
We have the hillsides, we have the paddock, we have the marketplace, we have all sorts of fantastic viewing areas, and people do roam. So when you look at the grandstands and they're not full, it doesn't mean that we're not our attendance isn't up. It's just a matter of people are out and about.
Well, it's like the cafe up on the hill there. I mean, you can either walk up there, or I think you have shuttles too, don't you, to go up there?
Yeah, we have shuttles and help out people to get up there and back down. And we have the Monterey Bay vets who operate the shuttle service, and they're just fantastic. And, happy to take people around.
So when the races takes place, just for our listeners now, how the sessions are what, 20, 30 minutes? And then is there an endurance race as well?
No, this year we're doing 25-minute sessions, which is from 20. And we did have an endurance race the past couple of years, but we are not doing that this year.
Okay.
One of the things we had to do is it was 4 groups to celebrate Le Mans, and doing 100 years of Le Mans almost is kind of difficult getting the cars all classified correctly. So we do have 4 dedicated groups to the cars that either ran at Le Mans or were eligible to run at Le Mans. And they're, like I said before, they're the real deal, and anxious to see them out there. We have a number of class winners who are actually racing, and it's going to be a sight for the eyes and ears for sure.
So if I understand you correctly, a lot of those vintage cars that participated in Le Mans over the years will be on the track, just even if they do like parade laps?
Yeah, absolutely. These 50 cars that we have in just the heritage display, they'll be out on track every day as well, doing exhibition laps, not at speed because the owners don't necessarily race them anymore. And there's a couple of static cars that will not go out, such as the 1967 GT40 from the Henry Ford, the old A.J. Foyt Dan Gurney car.
Right.
That won't go out on track for exhibition laps, but it'll still be on display. But many of these cars will go out, and at varying speeds, as safe as the owner feels comfortable doing.
A question I'm going to ask you, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, you may be familiar with it, but you know how in Indy, they have a museum there of Indy cars. Do they, and of course, Daytona has a museum there with Daytona and stock cars and other race cars, and the Motorsports Hall of Fame is there as well. In France, at Le Mans, do they have these cars that came over, are any of these cars in museums? I mean, does the Le Mans actually have a museum that's dedicated to the 24-hour event race?
I haven't been over there in a long time. In fact, the only time I was over there was for a MotoGP race.
Mm-hmm.
But I do understand that they are building in anticipation of their 100th anniversary, collecting the cars for display and creating this whole experience while there. A friend was over there just this past year, and they do have actual models of every car that ever raced at Le Mans. And he found his car, and
whoa,
he's taking the selfies with his car, in the museum. So I do have to get over there, because just from my working with them, they are very detail oriented and they know what they want, and it is the pinnacle of endurance racing without a doubt.
Tell us about some of the other events that take place at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. I mean, you mentioned MotoGP, which is basically sport bike racing.
Yeah, we had MotoGP for a number of years, and right now we have Moto America that just finished up this past month, and it did a great race. It was a lot of fun, good attendance. People are coming back out to the racetrack. Next month in September, we are the season finale to the IndyCar race. So we have the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey, and ticket sales are strong for that, and be live on NBC Network, and the championship will be crowned, and working with the IndyCar team is really good. They are just a class act, and they know from track to track what they need and what they do. So I will focus more attention on IndyCar after we get the Rolex reunion over.
Okay. For anybody who just tuned in, I have my special guest is Barry Topke. He is the Director of Heritage Events and Public Relations at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and we're having a discussion about the upcoming Monterey Historic races at Laguna Seca. I'm old school, so I still say Laguna Seca. In fact, when I had Gil and a couple other people on, they always correct me. But anyway, Barry, so what else do you some of the other events that take place? I mean, now is there the motorcycle racing, back in the day, I don't remember, did they ever do concerts and stuff like that out there at the racetrack?
They did. They had the Beach Boys, the Grateful Dead. In fact, they had the Grateful Dead, I think it was in 1986.
Mm-hmm. And
then 3 months later, they had the Pope. I guess there was a reason the Pope had to come to after that. But
okay.
While we were close to residents and we were close to downtown Monterey, which is part of our appeal to so many,
mm-hmm.
We do have a 500 acre plus property here with campgrounds that are open daily, that we have the traffic plans to be able to accommodate people. And certainly when we're closing up in November for several months to do the repaving and the start-finish bridge, these are things that we're looking at, how to utilize the facility for other type of events that do not use the racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking at concerts and different festivals and things of that sort that keeps Laguna Seca thriving. And we can't wait to inaugurate everything once we reopen. But it's a day use facility. We do cars and coffee, twilight cycling, and things of that sort that really are geared towards the community. And we are actively embracing the community and getting out more into the activities that are involving us and that we involve them. So we want to be a good community partner, and we're working hard at that.
Rumors of a Rennsport reunion again?
True. No more rumors.
True. Okay. Tell us about it. What do you know? What can you share with us?
Well, we have weekly meetings already.
Okay.
And yes, September 27 through October 1, it will be the 75th anniversary of Porsche. And we do not yet have a theme.
That's this year.
That's in 2023.
Oh, 2023. Okay. You had me worried there for a second because like I said, I heard it was a rumor. Okay, no, it's real. Okay, good. Next year.
It is real. It's been announced. We'll be opening for ticket sales on September 28th of this year, one year in advance. And things are moving full speed ahead. And if you've not been to a Porsche Rennsport reunion, you do not need to be a Porsche fan to appreciate the experience. I liked Porsches before, but I didn't really have a passion for them. So in 2011, when we held the first Porsche Rennsport here in Monterey, at least, I walked through the paddock and saw the Moby Dick poster car and things like that. I thought, okay, this is great. And then to see 50 plus legendary drivers, all recognizable names, lined up to sign autographs, to see the families out, and it really is an experience that is unforgettable. And then in 2018, our third hosting of Rennsport here, there was a tractor race, and the fans went crazy. We did a Le Mans style start at the start finish line with these tractors. They went all the way around, finished at turn 5. In the driver meeting, we told them, please stay on track so we don't have to clean the dirt. Hey, well, turn 2, I think it was Patrick Long was leading the way, and sure enough, he's on the dirt, and everyone else followed.
Oh.
But the fans were just cheering and just absolutely loving it. There's something about Porsche Rennsport that just, I don't see any other car company in the world that could do what Rennsport is like. I mean, there are Ferrari fanatics and things like that, but not to the extent that a worldwide gathering comes to Monterey.
Well, I was there for that one, and I was totally enthralled. And like you said, I mean, just wandering around in the paddocks, just seeing all those race cars, like I said, the tractors, the celebrities, and the cars in the parking lot were equally as exciting. The privately owned cars. I mean, it was wall to wall Porsche.
Yeah, and Porsche does it right. They brought in a concert one night. We had Seal perform, and Bob Ware, the Grateful Dead, was up on stage, and they had about 6 different acts, and just watching people enjoy everything that was going on. And like I said, the legends that they had, dear Dick Elford was here, and just Jochen Maas, Johann Stuck, and I mean, just the names just go on and on and on of any driver who has driven for Porsche were here. And and like I said, you don't have to be a Porsche fan to really, really enjoy the event.
So now just talk a little bit about yourself, your background. I was reading someplace that you were involved with public relations with Lamborghini at one point in time.
Well, you're going back in history, aren't you?
Well, I want people to know who you are. I mean, you're a guest on the show, and you're on stage here, and you tell people about yourself, and you do a fantastic job over there at the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. And but tell us a little bit about your past and your automotive, how your passion started. We got a few minutes left.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it really started out with the agency that I was at, and then I broke away and formed my own business. And some of the clients that I had with the other agency came with me. So, my agency started out with Lamborghini, and I sat in on the buy-sell with Chrysler and, with the Indonesian conglomerate that was buying it. I thought, initially, no, this is not happening. And then, flying out to Michigan to meet with the attorneys, I thought, okay, there's something here. And I remember the day I got the call. I was coming back from NADA in San Francisco, pulled off at a hotel in Emeryville to take a call. And they said, okay, we bought Lamborghini. We want you on board. And I formed my own business at that time and took Lamborghini on as my sole client. And I was the public relations director for the U.S. I was going to Italy about every other month. Did a deal with Mr. Trump back then, and
really
going to Mar-a-Lago and having lunch with him while he was in New York. And it was an absolute blast. And probably one of the best things about it was my daily driver. When I was living in Sacramento, California, my daily driver was a Diablo VT.
No way.
And I would put about 2,500 kilometers on it, make a phone call, and the reliable carrier would come in and pick that one up and unload another.
No way. Well, wait a minute. Now, you mentioned Trump. There was a rumor that he had a Diablo at one point in time, a blue one. Is that true?
He had a blue VT Roadster, one of the very first production ones that came into the country. And
no
we had
kidding.
a deal with him where he would pay X number of dollars in exchange for exposure and things of that sort. That's how I got into Mar-a-Lago, and we became friends, and it was quite nice back in the day. But yeah, he had one, and I remember being in the Palm Beach Post. He was putting gas in, and some photographer, took a picture of him filling up the Lamborghini gas tank.
So that's for real. I mean, that's not superimposed or that's not Photoshop. That's the real deal.
That was the real thing. Absolutely. I can picture that to this day. And so I stayed with Lamborghini for quite some time. And when the ownership changed into Audi, obviously everything changes and they clean house and things of that sort. But I feel it was an honor to be part of that transition team and, being at the factory so often, and their headquarters in the U.S. were Jacksonville, so I was in Jacksonville about every other week, and fell in love with the area.
Interesting. So where are you from originally then?
Born in Chicago, but really Sacramento and L.A. area.
Oh, okay.
And, like I said, I had my own business for 10 years, and one of my largest clients was the Los Angeles Auto Show, and I remember them calling up one day and said, "Can we meet for breakfast on Sunday morning?" I thought, that's never good. And they said, what you do as an agency for the LA Auto Show, we need to have in-house, because I was in charge of not only the public relations, but I was in charge of all the OEM relations. So I was dealing with all the car companies.
Really?
And I had my business for 10 years and thought, here's another chapter to go in-house. So I joined the LA Auto Show at that point, and was internal for a while.
And you've had an amazing ride, really. But so at Laguna now, is your passion for racing? Is that really why what? Because you're very good at what you do. You've been there for a while. You left. You came back. Is it your passion for racing that just keeps you there at Laguna?
It's the passion for racing, but it's really the people.
The people.
The owners of these cars are just amazing individuals. They love to share their automobile with their fans. And when I left, I joined up in 2009 initially, when I got a call earlier when I was after I left the LA Auto Show. I was looking for a new job, so I kind of was tired of doing auto show work. And about 2 days after I left, I get a call from an agency saying, we have a client, and we heard your name as a potential assistant to us. That's well, what's the name of the client? Well, we represent Toyota. So, okay, I have a lot of friends at Toyota. What's the name of the event? Well, we're going to be sponsoring the Monterey Historic Automobile Races. Have you ever heard of it? Well, Steve Earle was a client of mine for 10 years. So that's how I kind of got back into the fold. I was representing Toyota and actually working with Mr. Farley when he was with Toyota. He was overseeing that project.
Jim Farley, yes, he's now with Ford.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Uh-huh.
So we did that and then came on board. And, 2009, at the end of 2009, came on board here full time. And I've been here pretty much ever since.
Well, that's amazing. You've had an amazing run. You've followed your calling, and now you're doing what you really want to do, and you're doing a great job. Barry, we're just about up against the clock. I want to thank you very much for hanging out with us here at Nostalgic Radio and Cars, and obviously I will be there as usual because I love that run. Real quick, we got a minute, about 30 seconds left. What happened to? So I know, unfortunately, can't think of his name right now. My name. He passed away, and they're not doing the concourse on the Ave. What's taking place on Tuesday? Because I know the Trans Am cars used to run downtown and set up, and you get a police escort from the racetrack downtown, and Friedman used to do the.
Dave Friedman. He died unexpectedly, obviously, and they tried to get it going, but his wife Jeannie just, it was tough.
Yeah.
Got a late start, and to do this type of an event, it's a year round, so it's not going to happen this year. But hopefully it does return in 2023.
Okay. Well, that was a great event, and it was always exciting to just have the train. I mean, you could hear them coming down the road, just all those Trans Am cars. That was just an amazing experience right there. So, we look forward to that in the future again, and some of the other stuff. And again, real quick, shout out one more time. If people want to find out more about Monterey Historics, how do they go about doing it?
Call 831-242-8200, or just check our website at WeatherTechRaceway.com.
Sounds good. Barry, you take care, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
You got it. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank my special guest, Barry Topke from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. It was a great interview. I enjoyed having him on this time, talking a little bit, some of the other stuff's going on, a little bit about himself, too, because, we want people to talk about themselves a little bit so you get to know who these guys are, because these are personalities. These are people that are fun. They've got their experiences led them to where they're at right now, which I say this all the time. It's not always what you know or who you know, what you know. It's everything you know, and you put it all, you kind of gather it all, and someday you get really, really good at whatever it is you like to do. It's called passion, I guess. I don't know. Did I make any sense, Bobby? Probably not.
It's profound.
Profound. Okay. Anyway, don't forget to check us out here every Tuesday between 7 and 8 p.m. on TAN Talk Radio Network here in downtown Clearwater, right, Robbie? And our social media stuff, they say we're not active enough on our social media. I think we do okay, but hey, we're radio. We're live radio. That's what we are. We're traditionalists here. And I want to see you guys some of the car shows. If you want to find out where all the car shows are, definitely check out flacarshows.com. Bobby, Rib Shack, give him a plug. Do the Rib Shack.
Absolutely. At 1850 Drew Street. Come see them, whether it's inside or in their tent. That's where you got to find them.
Yeah, and then Elite Diesel up in Spring Hill up there does a great job on diesels, and Southern 4x4 does a great job jacking your 4x4. So go give those guys a call. Tell them you heard it on Nostalgic Radio Cars. Meantime, everybody stay safe, drive carefully, and love your family.
Hour to hour, straight, deep and wide. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through, break on through, break on through, break on through.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
WZHR, Zephyrhills.
FM 104.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Zoom.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper in Chicago. The Senate gives final okay to expanded health care and disability benefits for military vets exposed to burn pits. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Veterans everywhere will finally get the dignity and care they deserve. The PACT Act is now going to the president's desk. I thank my colleague for their work.
The Senate approved the legislation once before, but GOP objections delayed final passage, infuriating veterans groups and advocates. At CBS's Scott McFarland.
Their protest was powered by talk show host Jon Stewart.
We see a lot of protests around here. Is this one having more of an impact?
If it takes this to get something so unbelievably low-hanging and common sense done, holy God, what are we doing with the rest of it?
Republicans dropped their opposition.
Veterans organizations tell CBS News this legislation could impact more than 3 million vets, including those exposed to toxins as far back as Vietnam.
It's just one stop of many on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's Asia trip, but her visit to Taiwan has upset China. The National Security Council's John Kirby stresses.
Let me be clear. The Speaker's visit is totally consistent with our long-standing One China policy. We've been very clear that nothing has changed about our One China policy.
The Justice Department is suing the state of Idaho over an abortion law. Attorney General Merrick Garland.
Although the Idaho law provides an exception to prevent the death of a pregnant woman, it includes no exception for cases in which the abortion is necessary to prevent serious jeopardy to the woman's health.
A new study looks at mild exercise and its effects on older people with memory problems.
The study involved 300 older adults with mild cognitive impairment. Half were assigned aerobic exercises, the other half mild stretching and balance moves. The results after a year showed neither group suffered increased impairment. Meanwhile, as that was taking place, a separate group that did not take part in exercise did show significant decline. Doctors have long maintained physical activity is important in maintaining a healthy brain, but this shows even mild activity may help. Steve Futterman, CBS News.
InfoWars founder Alex Jones takes the stand to defend himself against claims that he must pay the parents of elementary school children killed in the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting. Jones claimed that the massacre was a hoax. After court, Jones attacked reporters for not caring that the prosecution allegedly doctored tapes.
Don't you care that I said I believe her son died and I think she's real, and they edited that off? Can't you corporate media get your act together?
During his testimony, Jones apologized and told parents he never intended to hurt them. On Wall Street, the Dow closed down 402 points, NASDAQ down 20 points. This is CBS News.
500,000 businesses connect using Zoom for communication and collaboration around the globe. Zoom, how the world connects.
It's time to play Trump or Consequences. Ready, Jill?
Yep.
Thinking about Anna Paulina Luna and Kevin Hazlett in the race for Congress, who did President Donald Trump praise as a veteran who served our country in the military and, quote, puts America first?
Anna Paulina Luna. Gotta be. Luna knows freedom ain't free.
Right, Jill. Next, who did Trump endorse for Congress?
Anna Paulina Luna. I know Trump backs Luna and only Luna.
Correct. Luna has Trump's complete and total endorsement. Last question. Who joined with Hillary and the Democrats in 2016 to attack Trump over his taxes?
Who did that?
Kevin Hazlett.
So why would a Republican back Hazlett?
Good question. Because if you stand with Trump, Anna Paulina Luna is the right answer for Congress. Paid for by Club for Growth Action, clubforgrowthaction.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Club for Growth Action is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Tee off with On the Tee Florida, Saturdays from 11 to 12 on the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection Radio Network. From PGA coverage to putt-putt prowess, On the Tee Florida is a PGA fan and a heck's perfect round of informative, humorous conversation and coverage. Every Saturday, talking golf in Tampa Bay and across the USA. Hit 'em straight with On the Tee Florida, brought to you by Coors Light, Saturdays from 11 to 12.
What's the buzz in Tampa Bay? Senior Voice America Radio, a unique morning variety program delivering the latest commentary on politics by host and political analyst Tim Bryce and the up-to-minute happenings of Wall Street by co-host and financial veteran Berkeley Badger. Beyond politics and finance, they scale the scholar's rampart by including topics on religion and nutrition with thought-provoking guests and interviews. Tune in every weekday from 8 to 10 a.m. on this TAN Talk station. Senior Voice America, serving our nation's seasoned citizens for over 4 decades.
Eat, Shop, and Play is heard every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. Your hosts, Polly and Rochelle, will be introducing you to some of the best services, shops, boutiques, stores, and restaurants in our area. Every week, they'll bring you a new and exciting guest and a few cat stories, too. That's Eat, Shop, and Play with your host, Polly and Rochelle, every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Show me the money. It's the Employment Opportunity Hour with Gene High every Thursday night from 7 until 8.
So the purpose of the show is to help you out there to find something that you enjoy doing instead of a job. And at the start of the show, I normally give out a formula, which I know will